Democrats do not and cannot run on policies they have implemented over the past 20 months. I mean, I'm going to compare here the differencing in message from Republicans to Democrats, and they are polar opposites. And normal people do not agree with most of the Democratic policies. It is crazy some of the stuff they're actually for. But before we get started, go ahead, hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Now, when you hit that alarm bell, you can change it from personal to all. That way, you get all the notifications for when I put out stuff because I put out stuff sporadically. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. And there's a link to my Instagram where I put out even more news that keep you informed. All right, let's talk about this news. All politics is local is a memorable quote frequently true and generally attributed to the 47th Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Thomas P. Tip O'Neill Jr. Uh, Sorry, Tip, not this time. The 2022 midterm elections have been nationalized by both parties. And we know that Joe Biden is actually on the ticket during this midterm. So let's examine that theory. The difference between the two parties have never been clearer. All right, let's talk about the Republican message. Here are the key parts of the Republican message to voters this election cycle. All of these are aligned with the top issues that have been consistently reported by even Democrat pollsters throughout 2022. These are the bread and butter issues that directly impact people's lives. Uh, Economic chaos and inflation. The key This is the key part of the Republican message. Democrat policies have driven the economy into the ditch and inflation through the roof, and Republicans will fix the problem by controlling excess government spending, restarting domestic oil and gas production, and ending lockdowns. I mean, especially when it comes to government spending. We don't have a taxation problem. We have a government spending problem. The government spending is out of control. They spend like they never spent before. And this is what happened when you have other people's money. Immigration and the border crisis. Republicans vowed to close the border, stem the flow of unvetted illegal aliens into the United States, and stop the flood of fentanyl and other illegal drugs that is killing over 100,000 Americans per year. Crime. Democrat policies have directly resulted in an increase in crime rates across the United States, but in particular in large Democrat run cities. Pick your poison, as Republicans intend to reverse all these Democrat policies. Defund the police, cashless bail, Soros district attorneys, jailing political enemies, double standards and selective prosecutions. I talked about all these things in numerous videos. Weaponizing the federal government. And this is a big one here. I just talked about in my last video how it started. The federal government, it been politicized. The FBI, it's been politicized, but it went into overdrive under Obama. But Republicans are for strong government accountability. Americans have watched aghast as DOJ, the FBI, and the DHS have been turned against Democrat political opponents. The January 6th protesters have been pursued to the ends of the earth, while thousands of violent Antifa and BLM rioters have received hand slaps, if that. And peaceful anti-abortion protesters have been raided by the FBI, while the violence of pro-abortion protesters is ignored, something else I alluded to in previous videos. A new 1,000-page report from GOP members of the House Judiciary Committee details, quote, allegations of misconduct and political bias within the Department of Justice and the FBI. Republicans have vowed to re-implement strong congressional oversight of federal agencies, especially those involved in law enforcement-related activities. Parental control, another hot-button issue. Long-standing Democrat support for the overall LGBT plus agenda was put on steroids by an executive order signed by Biden's very first day as president. Since then, revelations of grooming of children in public schools, advocacy of gender reassignment surgery, and drag queen shows have outraged Americans. Republicans emphasize parental control of children and ending any grooming of children via the public education system. You would think something like that would not be controversial. You know, having parents' rights. You would think that wouldn't be controversial, but within the Democrat Party, it is. All right, the Democrat message. The Democrat message sidesteps all of the kitchen table issues that matter most to Americans, and they know it. They talk about it. They've done the polls. Their message completely ignores the elements of the Republican message. Abortion, for instance. Democrat strategists thought they hit the political jackpot when the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in the Dobbs decision on June 24th, which returned the power to the states, quote, to allow, limit, or ban the practice altogether. They believe that abortion was their ticket to election victory and a major topic shift from the disastrous economy and high inflation that their policies have produced. As a result, they poured $124 million into pounding the abortion topic from June to Labor Day. But that issue is a little importance to Americans, according to polling. Saving democracy, whatever that means. They're the ones destroying so-called democracy. But a corollary is defeating election deniers. Democracy is under the ballot, is on the ballot, and has been repeated endlessly by dozens of leading Democrats and their lickspickle media. Joe Biden has made it a staple in his limited stump speeches over the past 2 decades. Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi have also echoed the message relentlessly. But what does that phrase really mean? The Democrats are actually saying that the real threat to democracy is anyone who doesn't vote Democrat. I mean, that's blatant. That's exactly what they're saying. And elements of this part of the message include the following. Attributing the attack on Paul Pelosi to an attacker motivated by right-wing Q theories while hiding the truth about what actually transpired. But now you're seeing them actually, they're not even talking about the whole Paul Pelosi attack anymore because they know themselves that the stuff that they put out, it doesn't add up. So now they're just not even talking about it anymore. Demonizing American First supporters. You know, it's been countless speeches that Biden have given where he just basically blasts any MAGA supporter. Continuing efforts to get Trump in order to motivate the Democrat base. They just keep throwing stuff at Trump and trying to get something to stick because they really don't have anything on him. He really hasn't broken any laws, but they keep throwing stuff at him to make him look like a villain. But Americans who vote to toss Democrats out this year just might consider it insulting for Democrats and company to claim that, quote, democracy is at risk when they are exercising their democratic right to vote. The bad Republicans, the old saws endlessly repeated by Democrats include that Republicans, quote, will take away your Social Security, even though they don't they can't show any Republican ever saying that, and that Republicans are inherently racist, including black Republicans. They call racist and Uncle Toms and all types of names. And then these are the same party that's called themselves tolerant and inclusive now. And the Democrats aren't above hypocrisy and in propagating the Republicans who are, quote, willing to deny the results of a clear election, shouldn't be running in an election. So said prominent January 6th member Rep. Jamie Raskin, who contested the results of the 2016 election and pointed, and the hypocrisy just abounds. Other prominent Democrat election deniers include Hillary Clinton and Stacey Abrams. That's it. That's the Democrat media message this year. They do not talk about their pet issues, example, global warming, gun control, Ukraine, stupid 19, jab mandates, and their go-to alphabet soup, CRT, ESG, LGBTQ, etc. but they are happy to sling mud in the hope that voters will ignore the kitchen table issues that are important this election cycle. For example, Republicans talking about crime is a bullhorn racist, according to MSNBC Tiffany Cross. And I done a whole report on that, and she ended up getting fired. Thank goodness. And Democrat New York Governor Kathy Hochul says it's a conspiracy theory that crime is rising. She quote, Americans' rising fear about crime has been manufactured by master manipulators in a national conspiracy ahead of election day. Bullcrap. Crime. Everyone noticed the crime is high. You can't try to gaslight people when it comes to crime because they live it every day. And CNN has been minimizing the crime issue for a long time in service of the Democrat Party. They were caught running a disgraceful Chiron during the unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin, after the police involved Jacob Blake shooting that said fiery but mostly peaceful protest after police shooting. And I remember when that happened, I talked about that. That's reminiscent of the Democrat media complex excusing the Antifa BLM riots throughout 2020. I mean, they pretending like the stuff wasn't happening. And the sad thing is they were destroying small businesses, black businesses were getting their windows broken out, stuff they were getting looted, and they were ignoring all that. But this particular election season, ridiculousness into support of Democrats may take the cake. According to MSNBC's Joy Reid, inflation is a made-up word that average people don't use that was taught by Republicans, and I've done a whole video on that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, people can't tell when they go to the grocery store things cost more than what it did a year or two ago. The Republicans and the Democrat messages to voters are crystal clear this election year, with the difference between the parties perhaps greater than in any previous midterm election. Uh, the delirious effects of Democrat policies passed into law during the Biden administration have nationalized the election in the mind's eye of the voters. I mean, it's so many people that's just going to check R off all the way down the list. House Republicans have also nationalized the election with their commitment to America. Republicans directly address the kitchen table issues that matters most to Americans, while Democrats bleat about esoteric issues that are peripheral matters in the lives of most voters. Democrats do not and cannot run on the policies they have implemented. That's why they don't talk about it. That's why they talk about these issues that really doesn't matter to most normal Americans, like I alluded to earlier. But tomorrow, I believe there's going to be a reckoning during the midterm vote. So everyone go out and vote, and show the Democrat Party that we don't like their policies, we can't stand their policies, and that they're hurting normal Americans like you and I. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.